I felt relief, no guilt. There was a sense of claiming back something that made me feel light again and unburdened. I know that there is a lot of stigma in society about it, especially in a very Catholic or religious country such as the Philippines. But this is a choice I alone have to make, and in no way can other people's judgment affect me. I do not need that negative association with an act that has actually freed me.
Everything feels right, I don't feel any burden no more. We won now, then we finally settled the score. I feel like I don't feel any burden no more. Everything's all figured out, yeah. Everything feels right. Everything's alright now, baby. Everything feels right. Everything's alright now, baby. Just imagine we won the fight and they be looking up like the sun is bright. It feels so nice to wake up in a new bed and I feel free. My body, mine is not an item for them. It's mine, it's mine. Sucks to be you, looking like a fool, fighting for something that brings down fellow women. Never mind, I'm not gonna think about it, cause I am free. I'm not gonna ever be another captive. My mama finally learns my body, my own words, my own rules, my own words, my own soul, my own world. Yeah. Everything feels right, I don't feel any burden no more. We won now, then we finally settled the score. I feel like I don't feel any burden no more. Everything's all figured out, yeah. Everything feels right. Everything's alright now, baby. Everything feels right. Everything's alright now, baby. The comfort of being secure, being held by my mama. Innocent child, it was a magulong drama. Aking hiling na magising sila parang umaga. Na kay ganda may almusal pa para sa'kin na nakahanda. Homegrown, look at how I've grown. Iyaking bata naging sanay sa magulong. Pag-iisip natuto na lumaban, hinabol lang panaginip. Walang nagsabi sa akin na karapatan ko ito. Karapatan mong mabuhay ng walang perwisyo. Di kasalanan na hingiin ang hiling mo. Yakapin mong tunay nararapat sa iyo. And now I can say everything feels right. Feels right. Yeah. Everything feels right. Everything's alright now, baby. 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 They decide what is wrong, what is right. They look down, they got children with spite. They do hate, manipulate. It's the same old game, they need change. All the rage, baby, what a shame. Lagi na lang nagkaaga nito, di na naman nabawas ang puno. Nanalo mong gawain ganito, lagi naman sabad sana ito. Di naman pero, halika dito. Bakit mo tinatawanan mga kahirapan sila'y inapi mo? Mga api sa mga dating gawin. Mga nakasanayan pinalagpas ang mali. Kaila pa ituturo ko anong dapat na gawin. Kay dami na umawit sa ganitong suliranin. Stigma, stigma na loka-loka. Matatanda nagbunga sila. Binasa pa sa tulad ng Biblia. Ang bawat papel ay magkaiba. Ano pa ba ang gagawin nila? They be blind about the wrong things. Never really about morality. Cause they be selected for their own sanity. Honestly, we could always change all the stubborn ways. But they always choose to control us, colonize the ways. It's the evil face that we learn to hate. But what they don't see is they following the same mistake. Give us all a break. It's a cycle, it is not the way. Better be the change, better talking about race. What you say ain't law, what you say is what make other people think. Simple ang sagot, wag ipagdamot ang desisyon para sa ikabubuti nila po. Open up your mind and let me remind it is not the same. There is rate of pain, don't be stupid, shove it up your brain. Stigma, stigma na, loka, loka ma, tatatanda, nagbunga sila, pinasa pa sa tulad ng Biblia. Ang bawat papel ay magkaiba. Stigma, stigma na, loka, loka ma, tatatanda, nagbunga sila, pinasa pa sa tulad ng Biblia. Ang bawat papel ay magkaiba.
Hello, it's day 2 of learning how. I'm so happy to join you for the second day for Women's Health Matters campaigning for young people. How is everyone? Can I see your heart and clap reacts? All right, thank you so much. I am Teta, WGNR's Asia Project Coordinator, and I'll be helping out with the hosting duties for this afternoon. I heard you had a very fun discussion last night, but before we move on for today's agenda, any lingering questions about yesterday's discussion that you want to discuss first? You can chat or anyone, just raise your hand. Any questions about yesterday's discussion that you want to discuss first before we move on? There was a question of what music was playing just earlier. That's the music from Pasha album of WGNRR. Pasha is the Filipino word for decision. So it's an album about women's bodily autonomy, integrity, having her own decision for her body, for her right to safe abortion. Serena, would you like to talk about the album?
Good day, everyone. Yes, also just like what you've heard earlier, those are the songs that are included in the Pasha music album. Just like what Miss Teta said, it's a music album project produced by Women's Global Network for Reproductive Rights in collaboration with Filipino Free Thinkers and Philippine Safe Abortion Advocacy Network with support from Safe Abortion Action Fund. And this is also a part of our campaign to decriminalize abortion in the Philippines, and it is a music album with original songs that is in collaboration with Filipino artists, songwriters, storytellers. What we call storytellers are the women who have done an abortion experience, and also the safe abortion advocates. So I put in the chat box the Pasha album website where you can learn more about the website, and also where you can listen to the whole track. It's 13 songs. Some are sung in Tagalog, in Filipino, but of course you can still also enjoy the other songs that's written in the song in English. And you can listen to it on SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/pashamusicph. But if you also happen to visit WGNR YouTube channel, you can also look at the playlist of Pasha Music Album, and on the description there you will see the lyrics and the English translation of the song for those in Filipino. So we hope you have enjoyed the music and you will visit the SoundCloud playlist and listen to the whole track and let us know what you think about it after.
Yes, you might want to do some TikTok challenge using the song. So go ahead. Thank you so much, Sari. And it's really fun. So everyone, are you ready to continue the fun for today? For day 2, again, if you have other questions about yesterday's discussion, just chat. We can address them along the way. And I know for some you might have questions about how we are going to provide support for the campaigning. We can also discuss that after the last part of today's activity. So we'll jump right into today's discussion. So yesterday we talked about what the May 28 campaign is for, what are our contexts, what are our advocacies, and what we can do together. Today, we will talk about methods, like we'll try to build our skills on social media campaigning that could be very, very helpful for our advocacies. Of course, that doesn't mean that we can only do May 28 campaign or we can only do our advocacies through social media. As we know, there are a lot of young people and women, girls that have no access to technology, and there are always other ways to reach them as well. But for the purpose of this workshop, we chose social media because that's one method that is common to everyone. So WGNR team is here to also learn with you, and we are very happy that we are joined by our resource person that will guide us through with how can we up our social media game for our advocacies. We have Marjo. Marjo is a community journalist and an independent public finance analyst. He served as consultant for various government agencies and wrote various legislation under the Kabataan Youth Party List. At present, he serves as one of the producers of the online shows of independent media group Alter Media, while concurrently serving also as the communications consultant for Child Rights Network. So he is also one of the founding partners of ComFocus, a consultancy company specializing in strategic communications. So I'll turn you over to the very capable hands of Marjo. Hi, Marjo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Tega. Hi, everyone. So in the next few hours, we'll discuss how to use social media for social good. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen now. So can you see it? Okay, so advocacy. We're talking about advocacy. We're all advocates here, right? So advocacy is about bringing the message to the public, whether it's to inform the public of an issue, or calling for the government to act on an issue, or for the public to support a form of lobby to the government, or even to protest or condemn the government for its actions or inactions on certain issues. So essentially, advocacy is about communicating your message. That's why, as Teta said, social media is just one avenue where we can get the message across to our target audience, to the people we want to engage with. And social media is an one platform, and it's not just one platform. It's a wide platform where we can use various techniques to up the ante for our campaigns, and even build alliances, community building, for example, for common advocacies. So before we enter the first part, maybe we could ask 3 participants to get to know some sort of get to know each other. How from getting to know you through your social media. So can anyone answer these questions for me? What social media platforms are you using, And two, when you use social media, what do you use it for? What messages do you use it for personally? And number three, how does social media affect your personal life? So can our uh, organizers pick three uh, to answer our questions?
Right. Anyone who'd like to volunteer first? Before I draw from my magic fishbowl. Just kidding, I don't have that, but I might start. Yay, I see hand. Mark Devon. The questions are, what social media are you using? What messages are you putting out in your social media? And how does it change, or how is it changing your or affect your life? Yes, go
Hello
ahead, Mark
po.
Devon. Yes.
Hello po everyone. Good evening. So I'm Mark Devan Maitim from YAS, Young Advocates for SRHR. And currently I'm using Facebook for my advocacies. At the same time, I use this platform, social media platform, as my way to relay my advocacy, at the same time to make awareness, youth empowerment, at the same time to give information to the youth of what are the opportunities, engagement na pwede nilang salihan, at the same time, what are the opportunities na pwede silang mahasa, maging skilled individuals, and to be involved in different organizations where I belong also to. And also, as part of the Young Advocates for SRHR, we are advocating for SRHR, and most of our content is advocating on our SRHR. And this is a good way to inform our young individuals to be an advocate, to be the voice of those individuals who cannot afford to get services on SRHR. With my advocates also in our organization, we do have this platform in making making good informations, relaying good factual informations for the youth. And it really changed my way in life, because this advocacy make me more responsible and engaged in different works that make me equipped and skilled individual po.
Thank you so much, Mark Devon. I feel such a proud mama right now hearing Mark Devon. Thank you so much. Anyone else who'd like to share their experiences with using social media?
I think Mark was in my previous talk with
Yeah,
WGNRR, right?
I think so. Anyone would like to share?
We can
Can I
simplify the
Can I
question.
start calling now?
How do you view social media? What is its function to you as a person? Because before we delve into its use as a platform for advocacy, we want to see how do we use it personally.
I'll ask Danica, who are more familiar with the participants. Danica,
Hello.
would you like to volunteer? Yes. So if
Hello.
there's someone, yes, go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Collins Mangicho. I'm from Kenya. I'm an advocate and Kuza Livelihood Improvement Project that we are basically in empowering young girls in terms of community development, and also in other development areas. So far, currently, the main use of social media is that we use it to empower the community, either through economic empowerment. That is because we understand that so far the health system of our girls keep on deteriorating, especially during this pandemic, this COVID-19. And we use our social platform, our social media platform, actually to educate them and to keep them encouraged, and also to share our problems or their problems to us, so that we can actually help them in various areas. KULIP is an institute organization that is actually usually to mentor or to monitor the community. That's our main project. And we also have community journalism, whereby we train journalists who have just from graduating. We mentor them so that they can abide by the rule of law, and also to teach the society about human rights activism, because we understand that the world is dynamic. It keep on changing. So we need to educate the society, because we never know what tomorrow holds. So actually, Kulip Level Improvement Project is actually to monitor, to empower, and also to educate the society. That is why we use our social media in Facebook, Instagram, whatever, all those sorts. Actually, just to bring close the community, so that we can work in a sustainable development projects. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I think that shows that most of us as advocates, we use social media actually for advocacies, even on a personal level, because we are actually in ourselves the embodiment of our advocacies. Our personal life in itself is a reflection of our advocacy. We cannot remove ourselves totally from our what we are advocating for and our personal views, right? I think for the most of us,
Yeah.
that's something that we can say, because there's no clear line anymore between the personal and the political. Right? One more. Uh, who wants to share?
I think we have sharers in the chat. Do you want us to read, or would you like to share for those who shared in the chat?
Oh yeah, I can see the chat. I'm from the organization Yoshan. It's uh what country is this?
Nepal.
Nepal. I am currently using
Pusha.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for advocacy. So far, it has been a good experience to reach more number of people with advocacy messages. I see social media as a good platform to connect with people, share stories, and build solidarity. But it is also full of risks. Correct. That's something that we would tackle somewhere along the line. There are risks, and those risks actually overturned the openness of social media throughout the years. When social media was starting in late 2000s, people were oversharing stuff. I'm gonna eat this sandwich. I've eaten the sandwich already, and now I'm full. It's like that on social media. But now it's becoming more and more private. People are building their walls up again, personal walls, because they don't want to expose themselves to risks that we will discuss later. So thank you for sharing. So I believe many of us know the wonderful benefits of using social media, and also thank you for from our to our participant from Nepal. There are also risks. No? So when it comes to uh, social media as a tool and as a platform, we have to consider that one of the major benefits of social media is its real time. It's real time communications. It's not most of us, Gen Z and the millennials, we never lived through a period where we needed to write letters, and it would take months to receive replies. We know instant messaging since we were children, and this on-time reach uh, is the value that puts social media uh, above quite above other messaging platforms. It allows for better interactive communication, because when you talk to someone, for example, on FaceTime or on video calls, or here in Zoom, you know for a fact what their reactions are uh, at the very instant that the words were spoken. So you do not there's no lag, and that's something that can assist us in all forms of advocacy, including sexual and reproductive health rights, right? So some key takeaways that we need to uh, point out first before we delve into planning social media. Everybody is media in social media. What do we mean by that? Uh, we know for a fact that there's this press, the media, the people that we see on TV, we read on the paper, etc. But in social media, it functions as it gives you the power to report on things that are happening to you to the public. So you in itself are a reporter. For example, there are many happenings like, for example, there are human rights violations in one particular area, and then uh, a person would go on Facebook Live to report on what's happening. For example, there were a series of gruesome killings in the Philippines recently, and there were community in their communities. These people they go online, go on Facebook Live to for people to know and see what's happening, what's who is killing who. So it can happen in all parts of the world right now, and it's and while you are uh given the power to be a reporter, to be part of the media, the fourth estate as they call it, in social media, you have to also understand that there are rights and responsibilities that come with it. So that's why you know the term fake news or disinformation, because of social media as a tool for reporting. uh, it easily it was easily co-opted by some nefarious forces to spread out fake news. They say they report on things that aren't really happening. They report on fake events, etc. Because they can, because the social media platforms enable them to do it. So one thing to remember as a responsible advocate is, as everyone in media is social media, when we use social media, we have to take on the responsibilities that a member of the press has to abide by. One is truthful reporting, and number two, do no harm. This is something that we have to remember in all of our advocacies. Do no harm in all of our campaigns, in all of our what we're doing. We should not we should push for change, but we should not do any harm. When we say do no harm to yourself, to your person. You want to attempt a certain sort of gimmick, and then you hurt your foot or something. That's against our cardinal rule of doing no harm. Or your mental health, it's what you're doing, it's taking its toll on your mental health. Or doing harm to a community, it's doing harm to a nation, uh, to race, etc. So you should abide by those two general conventions. No, uh, we should report the facts truthfully, truth, and number two, do no harm. And the next topic is, we have to remember that even if this is social media, and the social media, everyone is in social media, moneyed forces or big business is still in social media. So sometimes most of the times we see sponsored posts or ads, and they have more reach, more uh, they have more views, because they pay the platforms to for them to advertise. So And then there are certain there are no hard and fast rules in social media. What gets taken down, what gets upvoted, etc. But money is a considerable factor here. And when we talk about social media, it's not free from political economy. It's not free from the power of big business. You have to remember that. And because of this, there are several challenges that we have to face. There's what we call black fascism. Black fascism is the creation of some sort of massive support that's not really true. Are you familiar with the term trolls? Trolls, Facebook trolls. In Asia or in Africa, do we have those uh, people? Seemingly, they are people with fake names, fake pictures, and then they express support on a particular issue or particular person, but that's not really a real person. Maybe there's a group operate a person behind that operating 100 to 1,000 accounts. So they're doing this to hype up supposed public opinion on a given issue. For example, if we campaign for safe abortion and then we would encounter people who are rabidly attacking us because of, for example, religious belief or something out of extraordinary, uh, something that even attacks our own persons. And then you look at the pictures of those people, look at the accounts, they're fake. So that's black fascism, and it's connected to the point I was telling earlier. This is the move of big business, big money. There are people using funds to circumvent public opinion, create false support on stuff. So we have to remember that, and we have to keep in mind that as much as we want social media to be a loving and caring society, there are really certain groups and people who want to wreak havoc, for lack of a better term, to this community. So in social media, though it can be a platform for us, for our campaigns, for our advocacies, it doesn't necessarily convert through and through to concrete action. There are ways. For example, you invite people to join your uh, rally in support of a certain reproductive health bill. Uh, and then thousands upon thousands would sign a petition or like your post or share your post, and then on the day itself only 5 people would attend your event. Why? Because there's this junk between the supposed massive support on social media and the concrete uh, manifestation of your advocacy in the real world. um you have don't if this happens to you, you should not blame yourself first. You should first assess what were my key messages that I gave out in social media, and were they enough for to compel people to act. And look at the situation right now. We're in a pandemic and it's very difficult for people really to come out, so we're doing various forms of actions to show active support. So in social media, there's I will discuss this later. There's a trend of showing support by showing yourself in a video. That's why there's a rise of video production in social media and live Facebook or live streaming on Twitter, because uh, when you are showing yourself in social media, showing yourself in action, it's almost equal to being there. So it's beyond, for example, posting memes or posting photos, posting status updates. So there's an increase in that, especially during the time of the pandemic. So in social, and one last point before I enter the next part is, of course, many of us as advocates, we want our content to be viral. Viral in terms that many people would share the content, many people would interact, but go for viral for authenticity. You should ride the wave, but don't lose sight of our campaign plan. For example, we believe in certain principles for in promoting sexual and reproductive health rights, but we should not use messages that circumvent those beliefs for us to go viral. For example, using highly sexualized photos that abuse women for us to for us to uh, for us to go viral. Isn't that a form of abuse that's against our principles? So there's a thin line that we have to always look at. You know? So those are some takeaways for digital advocacy. We move on to number. Oh, have you seen the toolkit presented by WGNRR in for May 28th? This is one of the banner. So it's really sad that during these pandemic years, we cannot really see the smiles of our fellow youth, fellow women, but you can see in their eyes that they're grim and determined. So uh, there was this campaign, to give you an idea later for the workshop. There was this viral TikTok campaign earlier that uh, made by journalists here in the Philippines. They were unmasking. They were wearing masks, and they were doing this unmasking uh, action to compel people to speak up and defend press freedom even during the time of the pandemic. So that's a simple act. You're just unmasking using TikTok for advocacy. So that's another thing that you can think about. This is by the UNFPA. Women's rights can't be quarantined. So it's a message that you may want to incorporate in your content plan that we're going to build later. So next, before discussing further how to launch a campaign on social media, we first need to know what our social media assets are. So when we say social media assets, it's our pages, our groups, and the accounts that we manage organizationally. Who among you manage pages? Who among you manage Twitter accounts of organizations? Can I see a raise of hands? Okay. So for our next sharing activity, we want to know about our social media assets. So I'll give you around 3 minutes to go on your social media, look at your organization's social media assets, and look at how many likes your page has, how many followers your Twitter has, and then you can share it to us. And then after that, you can answer the question, how do we boost these figures? So that one, look at the statistics, look at the figures of your social media assets, and two, answer the question, how do we boost these figures? So I give you 3 minutes, facilitator. Let's give them 3 minutes to
Right.
look into social media accounts.
Okay. Check your social media accounts of your organizations for 3 minutes, and then we go back to discuss how's your social media doing. Can we get a music while we're checking out?
Can someone time it and tell us if it's time already? Okay.
Let's see.
Do we have some pipe in music there?
Yeah, I want to put on some music. Can you stop sharing your screen first so we can, okay lang ba, Majo? All right, thank you.
Akin ang dangal at akin ang dugo. Ikaw lose my mind when you leave me. Never wanna be without you. I'll be going ooh, we belong together. Don't stop, don't stop. Yeah, I bleed when you're with me. So what, so what? I'll be going ooh, we belong together. Come back now. 'Cause it is what it is, period. 'Cause I did what I did, period. 'Cause I said what I said, period. And I want what I want, period. And I will what I will, period. Get you back, period, please. Pretty please, why you late though? I was safe last time, won't you say so? Wearing rubber, popping pills and injectables. Period, I'm expecting you on the regular. Why you gotta be ghosting? Boo, you scaring me. Minsan lang like skin to skin, accidentally. Filipino time, siya sanay sa antayan. Pag hindi sumisipot, period, masama yan. Titig sa pagitan ng hita, namiminting na di makita mabuting balita. Buwan ng bangungot, buwi sa saglit na ligaya. Andaya, ako lang bumabata. Di na makahinga, iniipit ang siga. Di rin maibuga, madugong palahaw. Buhay ko palahaw, ipagpapatuloy. Hindi ako handa na para magpaugoy ng duyan ng kasalukuyan. Ang kinabukasan ko mauudlot lang. Gusto kong lamunin ng lupa kesa lumabas kubeta. Barilin nyo na ako sa luneta. Ay teka, gusto ko pala na mabuhay disgrasyada, pero Victoria, walhatit pagsinta. Abot langit ang pangarap ko, di pa sisiil, muling magdurugo.
3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any volunteers? 3 volunteers to share what they have seen in their social media assets, and what how do they think it would improve? So,
Right. Any organization, one from your 3 organizations to volunteer, please. Could help, Danica, if you call on one organization and let's see who from the organization would like to volunteer?
Hello, anyone from Yoshan who would like to volunteer? Yoshan, anyone from Nepal?
Yes.
Hi,
Hello, everyone.
Puspa.
This is Wispa. Hello. So I just checked the social media accounts of Yoshan, and we have 6,520 followers on Facebook and over 900 followers on Instagram. And we are very much active on Facebook and Instagram and not that active on Twitter because we just realized that young people are very much active on Instagram and Facebook rather than Twitter.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
how do you think could we improve these figures?
Maybe by tagging more organization in our post so that they can share our post and the followers they have can also follow us. And another thing we can do is we can organize different contests in different days, and we can ask the participants to tag their friends to win any prizes for that contest. And yeah, these are some of the things that we have been doing to increase this figure of followers on our page. But I would like to hear more from other people here in this session.
Thank you from the ocean. Another one, maybe from another nation.
Yes, Danica, let's call on
Yeah.
one organization.
Anyone from Kuza? Anyone who would like to volunteer from Kuza? Kuza Livelihood Improvement Project.
Yes, hello.
Go, Collins.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Kuza livelihood project so far. Facebook. We are around 700. We have 706 likes, which we Facebook, which is our main platform because there is actually where we get more of people actually get to know about our project and on how we actually help the society. And currently I'm not getting my network. I have network issues. Hello?
Hello, we
You're
can
good,
hear
you're
you.
good, Collins. Yeah, we can still
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So actually Kuza, which means it's a Swahili word which means nurture, which the organization is being founded by the principle of existence towards bettering the potential of others in harmonious, sustainable community projects. So far we are doing well in social media, and we also keep on encouraging others to keep on following us so that they can get to know us. We also advocate to other people so that they can get to know about our project and how we help young girls in the community or rather in the society. Yeah.
Thanks, Collins.
Thank you. So it's a small group on social media, but it's really highly tightly knit right now, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. Next, last one.
We have a share from Sandra from Youth Changers Kenya. They have Twitter 2,812 followers, Instagram 553 followers, and 1,463 likes in Facebook.
Wow. So I think that's good. Those are good figures, and I think what I'm gonna share with you next would I think would be the key to improving these figures. Why did I ask you to look at your figures? Because I want as an advocate who's using social media to propagate our advocacies, we have to know from at every instance if our assets are improving or not. Because if it's improving, we can assess why is it improving. If it's not improving, we can assess why it's not improving. Because if we're blind about these figures, if we're not familiar with our social media assets, then we may be also blind with how how wide our reach actually is. So it's a grounding technique for us. So we should incorporate it in our staff meetings or our organizational meetings as some sort of a portion, like how is our social media for the week or for the month? Did it improve or not? We have to integrate it uh, in our daily activity in our activities, in our assessments, because uh, in doing so we're putting value to social media, and we're conscious that we need to really push for improvements in our social media assets. Now, to answer the question I posed earlier, how do we boost these figures? How do we boost our social media stats? So, next slide. So, to answer those questions, can you see my slide now? Okay. To answer my question, we have to know or note the news consumption trends right now. Because it's no longer a matter of updating your Facebook page regularly, or tweeting, or using Twitter, or posting on Instagram regularly. We have to note that over the years, social media has been here for over a decade now, right? So there have been a lot of things that change. When I started using Twitter, I needed to use my phone to manually text a message to for a tweet to get posted. Now it's seamless, but that's hard technology. But now there are news consumption trends that we need to look at. We have to answer the questions: where are my target audience getting their news? Number two, how do they use the news and information they get? Because maybe in our consciousness, as long as we post things on our Facebook page, we post or we tweet on our Twitter, we post photos on our Instagram, it's enough. No, we have to know where our people are actually getting news. So you can ask it to yourself, where am I getting news? The TV, radio, the internet. In the internet, where particularly? I will start the conversation. I myself, just like the a lot of people right now in the trends. This is from uh, uh, the Global Webinex 2020, that there are a lot more people like myself. I take my news from certain groups that I am a member of, or Facebook chat groups, or WhatsApp groups, Viber groups. So the issues circulating there, the articles circulating there, I read them. I don't necessarily go by my news feed too much that at this point, because as many people, there's a certain barrage of uh, information overload when you try to scroll through your Instagram feed, Twitter feed, Facebook news feed, uh, and then there's the algorithm, the Facebook algorithm, for example, that pushes notifications from things that not doesn't necessarily concern you. So I get my news basically from my groups, my private groups. And if we look at the figures right now, these are the findings of a recent study. 36% of Gen Z those born 1996 and above, uh, they worry. 36% say I worry I spend too much time on social media. Correct? Anyone? You worry that you spend too much time on social media? And then they worry 39% that they spend too much time on their smartphone. 39%. This is low, 16%. I feel using social media causes me anxiety, but there are really people who think social media causes them anxiety. That's why there's this trend now. You know, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, and Twitter fleets. Some people, they would rather look at the uh, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and Twitter fleets rather than scrolling through their news feed because it evokes a sense of calm because social media causes them anxiety. And then some people, they prefer to be anonymous online. And when it comes to anonymity online, uh some they have their this what they call alter accounts, alter some accounts that are named after a fictitious person, but it's them. And this this is the reason why there was a rise in the use of Reddit. Are you familiar with Reddit? Reddit is like, well, it advertises itself as the front page of the internet. Basically, it's an incarnation of the forums, forums of yore in early 2000s. But in Reddit, basically you get to be some sort of really anonymous. No? And then they say that just only a small portion are comfortable with their apps tracking their activity. Why? Because the Gen Z take privacy seriously. Uh, why is this important? More and more, the trend right now in social media is you share less and less in public, less about your status, less about your life, and then you engage more and more in private groups, private conversations. That's social media 2021. That's not social media back in 2008 because everyone is oversharing in social media. But now people are putting a high premium on privacy. So they use VPNs or proxy servers. They use an ad blocker. Do you use ad blockers or VPNs? Anyone? Raise your hand. Because many people do this because they value their privacy. And then let's look at other figures. When we say where do they get their news, the Washington Post reported worldwide since 2018, Instagram's popularity as a news source for young people has doubled, and it may pass Twitter as the favorite source in 2021. Just recently, Twitter was the news app. You get your updates from Twitter, but right now, Instagram may overpass of it may pass that. So why are people turning to Instagram? Because Instagram is image based. For the Gen Z, the younger population, they want less clutter. They want to look at less clutter and image based video based stories or updates. They tend to value it more than text based updates. So you have to remember that when you're concocting or formulating your social media plan. There's a high premium now for photos and videos over text. So again, Gen Z communicates in image-based content 150% more than text-based content, correlating their attraction to apps like Instagram and Snapchat. And then there are those what we call video-first platforms, totally no text. No? Video-first platforms like TikTok are rapidly becoming top news sources for young folks because they far more likely to want to keep up with the news via video over text. Why? Because uh, the there is this certain sense that people know that fake news and disinformation are circulating widely in social media, and it's easier to create fake news or disinformation through text-based reports rather than if you see something on a video. For example, a building. If you were watching the updates in Gaza recently, the buildings were getting bombed. So uh, it's difficult to fake such incidents, that such horrible incidents. So the Gen Z, they prefer video first because of the proliferation of fake news, and they think it's more believable. To see is to believe. That's their mantra right now. It's a long time mantra, but it's still applicable right now, and more so in this generation. So there. But we cannot remove text or written material altogether. So when we write for Gen Z, we have to consider that their attention span has really become smaller and smaller. When writing social media posts, the reader's attention span should be one of your top concerns. Even you as a user, if you see a long post that cannot be read within 5 seconds, you just scroll it up, ignore it. Studies have shown that 32% of millennial readers will start abandoning articles between 1 and 5 seconds. It's so easy to scroll up. It's so easy to click other materials on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, because you get bored. So uh, you have to remember to keep your messages short and simple. Now, let's dive right in. How do we use social media given these trends? So, number one, of course, is analysis is the soul of any social media campaign. You cannot use messages that are going against your basic principles, your basic beliefs, your basic calls, just for the sake of virality, just for the sake of it's popular right now to say this, for example, but it goes against your principles. You don't do that. You have a certain stand on an issue, you have a certain position on a given debate, that should be reflected in your social media content. Analysis is the soul of any social media campaign. You cannot, if you don't have analysis of a situation, might as well don't post things and use and say you're an advocate, you're using it for advocacy. Because if you don't have analysis, how can you advocate for something, right? Number two, when you when you post calls for actions, calls should be clear to engage the people. When we say clear calls, it should be tangible, it should be concrete. For example, uh it's not really clear when you say support this, because the people would ask, your audience would ask, how would I support? In what way? You should, when you post stuff, you should say share this video, or comment, or put a heart reaction or angry reaction on this post. Something as concrete as that. So it's not anymore effective to say support. Support is such a general term. You should be clear. And then number three, you could target a specific audience. For example, we're coming from different organizations, different countries, and we have specific audiences. And we should target the specific audiences for us to maximize the reach of our post. How do we target our specific audience? We have to know them. We have to learn how to speak their language. What do I mean by this? When I say targeting specific audience by learning their language, you should know what are the current ways that people or current catchphrases of people in the Philippines. Right now, it's for a long time now. They're using this term "sana all." Sana all is like we wish it happens to me too, or it's like me too. So we could use catchphrases like that when you write for social media, because when people see familiar terms, familiar words, familiar language uh, used for advocacies, they get to understand the faster the message you're trying to convey. Number four, build alliances. In social media, you can also build alliances. It's for example, you know the term cross posting. Cross posting. Anyone? Have you ever experienced cross posting something? For example, WGNRR is hosting a live Facebook show on their page, and then an allied organization would cross post it at the same time to their page. So it's like mirroring what's being shown in the page of WGNRR, so that more people can be reached. So you can build alliances with different groups, various groups with the same objectives for a particular campaign, to rapidly expand your reach. And then, of course, number five, we should organize. Organize people, organize communities, organize events, uh, organize towards what? Towards acting on a particular issue. For example, many women do not have access to reproductive health services in the time of the pandemic. We should we should teach or empower our communities to solve this problem, or to call on the government or other related bodies to act on this issue. Uh, when we say organize, it's not just sometimes people equate organizing on social media as uh, what they call this Twitter rallies, when they have the hashtags getting viral or getting trending. For example, you have uh, upwards of 5,000 tweets using a certain hashtag at the same time, it gets trending. So that's just the point of organizing. Organizing is empowering people to act. Empowering people to act on a certain issue, a certain cause, for their benefit. So maybe Twitter rallies could send the message to a wider audience, but organizing goes beyond that. Organizing goes beyond the online world. It should traverse into the real world, the offline world. So that's some points to remember. So looking at the uh, social media kit provided for May 28th. This is the instructions written there. I don't know if uh, the person who did this is present tonight, but uh, given our discussion earlier on the things to remember, how do we assess this? How do we assess these instructions for May 28th? Can anyone Can anyone give their views about these instructions coming from this is coming from the toolkit for the May 28th International Day of Action, okay? Can anyone share what are their thoughts or opinions about this?
Yeah, any of the participants right now looking at the instructions provided for the May 28th, what do you think? Is it easy to follow? Is it good? Is it sound? Are they sound? Are they really useful for you anyways? What do you think? I see some hard reacts.
There's a message. Uh, Anyone? If no one wants to share, maybe I'll share my thoughts.
All right.
Uh, Basically, this is a sound and very easy to follow instructions. Something that many could do easily and without causing any confusion, anxiety, whatever. Uh, Something that I would add to this is how does it get how can you get it to be more personal beyond, it's very difficult right now for people to update their profile pictures. It's something that people don't really do anymore out of a whim or something. Better still, maybe you could ask them to post something at a particular period of time in their Facebook stories. For example, at 8 a.m. your time in your country, everyone should post. We This has been done in previous international events. For example, they just posted the colors of the Palestine flag. So when you see the upper ribbon that shows the stories, the Palestine colors are seen all throughout uh, because everyone posted such on their Facebook stories, and then on fleets it's like that also. So something that would right now, because of the trends in social media, it's very difficult to uh, ask people to change their display picture or their profile picture. So something, and then I think you did well in having the calls. Aside from these instructions, there are calls under it if you look at the toolkit, and you should. It's in may28.org. So there are sample tweets, there are sample status messages that you can use. But one thing that should be highlighted is sharing your personal story.
Mhm.
You should intend or campaign for people to share their personal story. How has the pandemic affected your rights? And then how 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 can you compel people to do this? By tapping influencers to first uh, uh, share their stories. For example, when we were doing in Child Rights Network, when we were doing uh, the Beat online sexual exploitation of children campaign, we were talking about child safety online, and we tapped Ann Curtis. Ann Curtis is an actress here in the Philippines, to share how she protects her uh, her child online. So through that, many people were empowered to say to tell their story. So there should be a conversation starter, I think. So you can tap advocates who are influencers, known personalities in their fields, maybe experts, for example, reproductive rights experts, reproductive health experts, to share, to start the conversation. That's the most difficult part in this campaign. For it to get viral and for people to start sharing their stories, someone has to start the conversation. So that's my 2 cents on this. But generally, WGNRR is very good at jumpstarting this campaign. Kasi, for, for example, however, you have 4 hashtags. Later, later I will tackle that. So,
Too many hashtags, too little time.
so Lila, before we get to planning, let's review some best practices for Facebook. Number one, this number one, mix up your content. So it is no longer enough to count how many times you post on Facebook, but also what types you post. So you can increase your daily posting frequency on Facebook and Instagram by repackaging certain content. For example, you have a press release or statement about the day. You can post it as a statement. Then you can post what we call a photo quote to highlight certain portions of the statement. And then, or you can post it, the statement, as a caption to a compelling photo. For example, about women's health in the time of the pandemic, and then there's a long line for vaccination, or long line for mass testing, for example, and then you use it use a quote from your statement. Or you can have someone, a spokesperson of your organization, record a video message saying, what is she saying? She's speaking, talking about the statement, and then you can post links, you can post live videos. So what I'm saying here is, it you should maximize the use of all the content you produce. For example, one press release, one statement could have up to 10, 20 content that you can post on your social media. You don't need to burden yourself by creating new material every day when you can maximize the use of something that you've already done. And then next, you should go live. Go live. It's easy to go live. And for example, on May 28th, one of my suggestions is you open the day with how do you open a new year. For example, there could be a countdown by 12 midnight, and in the countdown, every minute there's some advocate saying her thoughts on certain issues, certain matters on women's health, and then there would be a countdown. And then after the countdown, when it's already May 28th, you would go live, and you would say that we would spend every second of May 28th to talk about women's health. So something like that. And this goes beyond May 28th. Uh, you should often use, based on the algorithm of Facebook and Instagram right now, it puts premium on live videos. So communicate with your audience, communicate with your target communities by going live. So you can answer questions, or you can simply greet them on on a certain red letter days or whatever. You can plan what you can say on going live. And then, of course, if you haven't done this yet, link your Facebook to your Instagram so you can cross-post your content. More Gen Z are on Instagram and they're more active on Instagram than on Facebook, but that's not the case in all countries. Okay, so the best way is to link it together. So your Facebook stories would also appear on your Instagram stories, and then create stories to go behind the scenes of your campaign and show more authentic in the moment content with your followers. For example, are we talking about here? We're talking about behind the scenes. For example, for the organizers of the May 28th International Day of Action, you should post photos of people preparing for the program, people preparing for the activity. So what is the function of this? It gives your campaign, your movement, your organization an authentic vibe that we are not an organization that's just full of white paper and stuff. We're an organization of people working towards women's health. So it's what we call BTS, behind the scenes. It's important to post that before, during, and after every event. Something to uh, give your audiences a sneak preview of how fun it is. Even if it's difficult, even if it's tiring, it's fun to advocate for SRHR. So, and then lastly, begin to incorporate stories best practices, including videos, live and interactive stickers like the Instagram question sticker or the first Facebook reply sticker. In Facebook stories, you can ask questions and then people can answer. In Instagram, there are also stickers like that. And then there are stickers that are interactive. For example, the heart sticker, if you push it on the stories, it would burst into a lot of hearts. So make use of those best practices. But first and foremost, start using Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Twitter feeds if you're not doing it yet. Number two, questions? Is there a question?
Any questions, insights, aha moments you'd like to share? Or maybe if any of these suggestions you've tried and you find some problems doing it?
Anyone? Let's go to the next one. Fostering a community. So it's difficult for us to really, to really engage with real people if we don't act like a real organization uh, in a humane and human way. So, for example, if you want more people to comment or like your on your posts, you have to engage them in your posts. If you want to you want people to be more dedicated advocates and they are messaging your page, you are they are sending direct messages to your Twitter, you have to answer them. You Fostering a community starts with getting to know and getting in touch with your audience. They You have to remember, in social media, it's not like the television or the radio that you have a passive audience. It's interactive, and we have to do our part in a way that it's a two-way relationship. When they comment, we need to respond, but not to all comments. For example, there are comments which are just snide remarks, so we don't really need to uh, answer those. So there. And then create a Facebook group. You know, there's a function uh, in your Facebook Creator Studio or in the administrators of your Facebook, you can create a Facebook group of the people who liked your Facebook page. This is in line with the trend right now that people get to talk and interact better in private groups than out in the open. So you could create a Facebook group. For example, right after this event, we can create a Facebook group about using social media for our advocacy, or Facebook group that has all the attendees here. So we can interact further. We can also do that in your communities. Next, Facebook events. It's still alive. It's still kicking. You still use it. When was the last time you held a Facebook event? How about WGNRR? Do you use Facebook events?
I remember last year for the ID Vow campaign. So there was a concert when we announced it through a Facebook event. And then we sort of got lost in all the process of where will the
Ah,
concert or video will be. So people were asking, is it in the event? No, we're posting it in the Facebook page. So that was the not so good about, we weren't so familiar how the event Facebook event should work for that concert.
a Facebook event is simply an announcement.
Okay.
So you have to make it clear to your audience that the Facebook event is an announcement, and then there should be a clear instruction where to go to watch this event online, or where to, if it's a Zoom event, where to go, where's the link. So a Facebook event basically is just a status update about an event, and then it's very useful because it notifies a person who intends to go to the event when the event is upcoming. It's automatic. It's, you don't need to uh constantly inform them. So something that we can use in organizing online events. And we have to remember that it's still present, because some people forget that there's this function. There's this function, we need to use it.
And what I also get from Facebook events sometimes, that it kind of, even if I'm undecided to go there, then I see my friends going there, or I see my friends saying interested with this event. It sort of made me feel like, okay, maybe I should go to this event as well because people are liking it and people are saying that they want to attend. So yeah, maybe we should think always of creating a Facebook event.
Yes, because in Facebook's algorithm, your friends will see that you're going to this event. So it's extra uh, mileage for your event, for, because it's personal. It's something that you encourage also your friends. And
And it
then
kind of plays into the
grow your
bandwagon effect.
following organically. Yeah. Sort of, in a positive way.
Yes, in a positive way, probably.
Anyway, the next one is grow your following organically by, yeah. Sorry, my connection is becoming unstable, but can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the next point is how uh, to increase your following on Facebook organically. It should also be a campaign. There should how do you, how is this concretely? For example, when you set a meeting or organizational meeting with your members, active members of your organization, each member should have a target of uh, inviting at least 50 people a week to like your page as a person, as a member, organically. There are paid ways we can spend campaign funds to advertise our page, but building something that is organic, we could target such stuff of 50 per week. For example, you member number one, you are you willing to commit 50 new likes for our page for this week, and then we the next week we assess what happened. Did our following increase? Did our members reach our targets, etc.? And then we adjust. And then the last on fostering a community is exploring Messenger. Now, if your page, can anyone share? Do you reply to messages sent to your page? Anyone?
Anyone who manages their page? I see a thumbs up from Yes. Yes. Yes, Pushpa also from Yoshan. Yeah, they said they reply.
Oh, they reply because uh people want engage more on a page that is they tend to look they tend to think as something more human, something more personal, because it values their existence, it values their feedback. So because they reply to messages, and there's a way to automate responses, but not in a way that's too dismissive. There's a way to automate your responses that, like, what is your concern, what is and then you can choose, you put choices, your concern, and then uh there's a way to design it. You can further study it. It's quite easy. But one thing that you shouldn't do is ignoring messages, because those are real people who are messaging their concerns on your page. Next. Uh, and then number three, of course, you have to use the Facebook Insights or the analytics. You have to know who the engagements, how big your engagement is. These are the terms in the Facebook Insights: impressions, post engagements, link clicks, organic likes, and total fans. You have to assess concretely if these figures are increasing or decreasing by the week. So why do you need to assess this? Because if you don't assess it, you would be blind about the performance of your pages. You would be blind about the performance of your social media campaign. You allotted time and effort to launch certain campaigns, and then you are blind about its effect. So in hindsight, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're wasting effort. You don't know the effect of your campaign. So you have to view and assess these insights from time to time. And one thing that you should consider after this discussion, you should include this in your regular meetings, organizational meetings, assessment of your social media assets. Let's go to Facebook stories. I've been talking about Facebook stories as a dominating trend in 2020 and 2021. According to a Facebook IQ Commission study, more than 2 in 3 people in the world, 2 in 3 people who use stories surveyed say that they use stories on 3 or more apps at least once a week. 3 or more apps: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And what's more, 63% plan to use stories even more in the future. Because stories, one, they're not cluttered. Two, they are more personal. And three, it gives them updates on people in a way that avoids fake news and disinformation. So more and more people around the world are putting a premium on Facebook stories. So we have to become experts on using Facebook stories. Can anyone share
Marjo, we have a
how if
question.
there, yeah?
Yeah, Jo asking, you mentioned the danger or risks on social media. How do we avoid echo chambers in our social media campaigns, all the while also staying safe?
Uh, we need to, for example, to answer your question, there are digital safety mechanisms, and but if you want to avoid having those so-called echo chambers, you need to engage to your audiences who comment on the contrary or contrary to your position about an issue. They're not necessarily trolls or fake news peddlers, but someone with different beliefs. So you can engage them in Twitter or on Facebook in the comments. Uh, how by showing them why your organization believes that this is the right position on the matter. So we should not avoid answering those comments or those feedback because it's a way to express to people or elaborate to people why we stand on matters as such. Because if we tend to avoid, because some think that it's just a form of conflict, it's just something that we could avoid. I want to maintain peace and calm in myself, so I would avoid those negative comments. But sometimes those are not negative comments, those are keen questions that need to be answered. Those are questions that could break this so-called echo chamber, because sometimes uh we may admit it or not, our arguments may sound hollow or may be really hollow because we haven't tested it yet to people who don't believe on our position. So engaging with these comments, engaging with these dissenting opinions helps break uh, the echo chamber effect. And then of course there's a way to get feedback from followers or your audience. You can post a question on Facebook stories. You can post a question and then the people can answer, or a survey on Twitter. You can do a poll. On Facebook you can also do a poll, so you can do that from time to time, especially on contentious uh, issues that need people's reactions. So we have to be open to argument. We have to be open to discussions and debates so that we avoid becoming echo chambers. Did I answer your question?
Yes, just said thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe on
Okay.
a personal level, we, like you mentioned earlier, Marjo, on a personal level, we
Mm-hmm.
do like remove those people that are negative to us, or maybe who are against our beliefs. I mean, because for mental health as well, for everyone. But I think as when it's an organizational page that you are managing, then that's really where you really have to sort of engage with questions that might be like against or questioning your stance, for example. Again,
Yeah.
you can break the echo chamber.
So there's a difference between managing your personal account and an organizational account. And then, of course, we have to distinguish between engaging with real people who have real questions and engaging with trolls who go around in circles
Mhm.
and attack you as a person and not on the issue. So there are really people like that, and I've encountered a lot of people like that. So, for example, people who accuse you of certain stuff and veering away from the issue at hand just to make you respond. So uh, your efforts might your time might be wasted on replying to such. You have to be, there's a certain sense of, there's a certain discernment is a discernment of these issues is a skill that you need to learn in managing social media. Discernment. Okay? Next is more tips. So from these are just additional stuff. The shorter the post, the shorter the text on the post, or we call it a blurb, the shorter the better. And then post frequently and post on a timely in a timely matter, at least twice a day. Post in the afternoon or early evenings. Use trending topics or hashtags to stay relevant. Include images as much as possible, and keep a social media calendar to schedule your post. Uh, who does scheduled posting here? Anyone?
May we see a show
Yeah.
of hands? Yes, are doing scheduled posting. Other than yes, anyone else? Not very common.
Yoshan does.
Yeah.
Okay. So, scheduled posting is a way for you to manage your time, because not as an advocate, you cannot spend all of your your day just looking at your Facebook page or just looking at your Twitter. You could allot a certain time in the day to update your social media accounts, but not in one full uh you release everything in one sitting. There's this scheduled post. It helps you optimize the time for your releases. So use it. Now we go to Twitter. For Twitter, here are quick Twitter tips. I got this officially from Twitter. Okay, so if you don't believe it, it's on you, because this is officially from the Twitter uh, organization itself. Limit to one to two hashtags per tweet. What's the reason behind this? Because the more hashtags you use, the less space you have for the message you want to convey. Remember, how even if Twitter already uh, made it enabled you to tweet longer messages and then have sub tweets added, there's still this character limit. So the more hashtags you use, the less message you can post. It's not like Instagram. In Instagram, you can post 100 hashtags and it's okay. And then next, try to be conversational. You 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 don't want to sound like a book or a textbook in or a law in Twitter. Twitter is all about conversations, and people won't interact with an account that sounds like a book, because a book should only be read and not spoken with. I mean, not to be engaged in a conversation, right? So one thing to establish is to establish the language that you use in Twitter. It should be more conversational. When I did this workshop with Yas, one thing I asked them is, how do you call uh, your audience? How do you call your fellow youth advocates? And they have this Yas mates. Am I correct? Yas mates.
Yes.
So you can develop such terms that could be inclusive for your community. And then number 3, keep your copy short and sweet. So no one wants to read a very long tweet. Might as well I go to the website where you or link something to a website. post a link to a website where the full statement is located. Just post the juicy parts. Use images, GIFs, and or videos whenever possible. Uh, Again, this trend of having images, photos, and videos in your posts doesn't only apply to Facebook and Instagram, but also on Twitter. People tend to interact more with tweets that have photos or videos with them. And then test, test, test. Number 5. Uh, how do you test tweets? You just tweet them. If it goes viral, you did something good. If it's a flop, if nobody noticed it, you can assess what's wrong. It's maybe the wording, the time of the day it was tweeted, etc. So that the only way you could test a tweet is if you tweet it yourself. Okay. And then a good conversationalist on Twitter monitors events and trending conversations. We have to know, those who use Twitter, you see trending topics at the right pane. Are you familiar with that? So sometimes there are trending topics that you want to look into. Maybe it's related to your topic, or maybe you can relate your issue or your advocacy with the trending topic, so it can ride the wave of the trend. So those are quick Twitter tips. Now, how do you make an organic tweet copy? Number 1, keep your message concise. Hashtags 1 to 2 per tweet. And then include a clear call to action. For example, if you've linked to a full story, you've linked to a website, you should say, read the full story. Or if there's a video accompaniment to your tweet, you should say, watch the video. And then a lot of people think that it's okay, but people tend to veer away from a copy or a tweet that's written in all caps. They might say, "Oh, the organization is angry." I didn't know that organizations could be angry. So could have emotions, something like that. And most people, I want to be at peace with myself. I would not read this tweet because it's angry. So avoid writing copy in all caps. Keep a conversational tone. And this one, the last one, I've been applying this lately and it really works. Use emojis in your tweets. As far as practicable, as far as possible, even in Facebook, more people, this is try it yourself, because I tried it on Facebook and Twitter. I used emojis, and more people interact with the post than a post with no emojis. For example, we have a show which calls for the burning issues of the day. Burning issues of the day. So I put a fire emoji, a flame emoji with it. And about the interaction uptick from 30 to 50% from previous postings. So we try to post emojis, but not too much, okay? Add a dash. It's like cooking. You add a dash of salt and pepper, but don't overdo it. So just emojis are there to spice up your tweet. Okay? Next. On creatives. Adding media to a tweet can help it stand out in the timeline. Here are the things that you should keep in mind. If you put an image, it's an image. It's not an image of a text. Avoid images with heavy text. So sometimes I've seen organizations post an image version of their organizational statement or press release on Twitter. Like they screen cap the whole document and then they post it as a photo. I said, why not just paste the content of those of that statement as a tweet, as a text? Because what if people want to lift or want to use your text? They cannot do that because it's already an image. And again, text heavy. It's text heavy. It's tiring to read it. And then for videos, Twitter has a limit of around 2 minutes for videos, but keep the videos up to 15 seconds or less. And then when driving to a link, consider using the website button to make your image or video clickable. That's something uh, you can fiddle with Facebook, with Twitter. Uh, and then use captions or another sound off strategy for videos with dialogue. You could, if there are videos with dialogue, you should say out loud in your tweet that sound on or uh, volume up so you could hear. Sometimes, and many times, people don't hear what's being said in the video because they tend to think that the videos on Twitter don't have sound. So you have to sound off those things in your caption. Next, on planning and inspiration in Twitter, when it comes to tweets, here are certain tips. One, important to have a content calendar. And then two, keep a bank of evergreen approved tweets on hand. For example, this is very useful for organizations because sometimes the content manager runs out of ideas of things to tweet about an issue. So you can sit down in a meeting, and then the social media manager can provide each member a set of tweets that could be approved and can be used anytime, if ever you're running out of content. And then you could schedule tweets. For a time, TweetDeck, if you're familiar with TweetDeck, is anyone familiar with TweetDeck? Raise your hand. No one? Well, TweetDeck is a way to schedule tweets. It was before it was a third party app or third party function, but now Twitter has already bought it. It's integrated in Twitter, so you could go to tweetdeck.twitter.com and then you could schedule your tweets there. So uh, certain tweets can be scheduled way ahead of time so that it could be easier for the manager to do more. Okay. Create a content team for each day. For example, you know the Throwback Thursday thing, right? Or the Monday Motivation Day, or Thought Leadership Thursday. You can create certain themes that can get popular. For example, uh, you can talk about reproductive health on Tuesdays, RH Tuesdays, or you can talk about women's health on Wednesdays. Though, so Women's Health Wednesdays, you can create certain themes and topics hashtags uh, with hashtags accompanying those themes, so that you could easily create a content plan for the week. And then last, look for opportunities to participate in recurring weekly hashtags. For example, Throwback Thursday. On Throwback Thursday, you can post throwbacks of your organization's activities way back in the year 2000, before the pandemic, for example. So just put the Throwback Thursday hashtag for it to be included in the feed. Now, some tips. If you want to jumpstart or just some sort of restart or up the ante of your social media presence, here are some tips. Number one, create a style book and a persona. Who do you want to be as an organization on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? How do you want your persona to look like? How do you want your persona to talk? How do you want your persona to dress, etc.? So, uh, creating a style book makes it, because the social media is flooded with so many content, and you want your page, your organization to be unique and to have a certain character that would be easily relatable and easily it's easily understandable for people, and people would say, oh, that's WGNR, or that's how they talk. So you have to create a style book or a persona. And then number two, because this is a task it's not just a chore, it's a task. You should assign a specific social media manager. Can anyone raise their hands who are assigned social media managers here? Anyone?
Chief is here.
Yoshan, from si Joshi and others. So, why do we assign a specific social media manager? When we start assigning people, we're putting more emphasis, and we're putting more effort on a certain task like this. This is not just a side job or a hobby or a chore that needs to be finished. It's part and integral of our campaign. So when we assign a person that heads the campaign, social media campaign, it becomes more important for the organization. And when we assign a specific social media manager, it doesn't mean that that person alone is uh would do all of those posts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram every day, every hour. No, they're just the managers. They can assign tasks to each volunteer member of the organization. And you should also ask for consent, of course, to people. You just don't just assign them certain tasks. Okay. And then explore topics. You go beyond what you currently talk about. When we talk about women's rights to health, it's a vast horizon, and there are a lot of topics that we can discuss. It's not just uh certain we need to identify it in a meeting. You need to identify it in a meeting with your organization, with your group. What are certain topics that we usually talk about often, and what topics are important, equally important, but are not featured in our social media posts. And then number four, this is my favorite tip, and it's a trend right now among journalists, what we call data plus stories. Data plus stories is you have a case study that gives face to a specific data set or a specific statistic. For example, when we say 4 in 5 women are like this, do not have access to basic reproductive health services, etc. That's a statistic. It's an important statistic that we want to highlight. But when combined with a case study, you give a face. You give a face to that data. It's not just figures anymore. That figure has a face. And data plus stories is very powerful in compelling people to act. So uh, throughout the years in my practice as a journalist, we've been trying to implement this in every statistic that we get. Important statistic about hunger, statistic about joblessness, statistic about deaths due to COVID-19. We want to put a face on these figures, because some the tendency of people hearing about such and such number of deaths due to COVID, but not hearing or seeing the real people who became victims of these cases, they tend to disassociate the data with real life. So, uh, if we want to create compelling stories in our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, it's very, very good to practice data plus stories. And then, of course, number five, treat social media advocacy as some sort of a hobby, something that you want to do in your spare time and not as work. So sometimes people think that I need to do this because this is assigned to me. No, I need to do this because I am an advocate of reproductive health rights, and this post would help more women to have the information they need to survive this pandemic. So beyond the technological or digital tips, at the core is the upholding the principle of why you've become an advocate. Okay. So in conclusion, social media is an arena for advocacy. It's something that's very powerful and very potent, not because it has a magic in itself. No, it's because it gives you the power to reach potentially, not instantaneously, a lot more people who needs to hear your message. Potentially, why do I say potentially? Because if not given proper attention, if not given proper planning, if you're not using the proper techniques, you might be ending up in a echo, like what they said, an echo chamber. You're just talking to yourself and a few advocates who are like-minded. So we've discussed how to avoid that, and I think we should go forth and utilize uh this avenue, this platform to send our message. Have you heard about this He for She campaign? It's a campaign by uh, artists for women defenders who are males. So this has been a very trending topic in the past. It's a very successful topic. Things to consider in maximizing social media as a platform. First, the language and the tone. You need to speak the language of the masses, the language of your community. If you sound like some person, like a textbook, or you sound like a lawyer or a scientist who's speaking gibberish, people will not listen. Number two, the frequency. How frequent do you tweet? How frequent do you post? How frequent do you update your status? The frequency, I told you earlier how frequent it is, and we're providing a checklist with you later to see how you can plan the daily, the weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually social media plan. And then you can build a character or mascot. For example, uh, for a certain issue, there you can build a character. In basketball games or in sports, they have their mascots, right? Their teams. It represents their team. You can also create such a thing with your organization. You have a mascot, you have a character, and it talks for the organization, and it uses the language and tone uh, applicable in your organization. And then number four, we have to remember what we've discussed, how to engage more followers. You have to respond to their messages. You have to respond to their comments, but not all comments. And you have to make them feel, although it's virtual, it's real. these are real connections with the organization. These are real issues. Although it's a virtual connection, it's real. And then for everything that you do, you should have teasers. What are teasers? It's what's happening. It's what's about to happen or what happened. For example, for May 28th, it's something it's like a poster announcement of what's happening, what's in store for May 28th. Plan teasers before and then after. After is an after teaser is outtakes. What are the best messages given during May 28th? What are the best visuals which were presented on May 28th? The best voices heard, highlights, and of course photos of behind the scenes. Who were the people working for this campaign, etc. Those teasers enable you to continue the conversation before the event and after the event. More, more tips, engage. It comes again. Number two, even in your personal social media accounts, share the content. It shows you the extent of your dedication to your cause because it extends to your private life. Number three, live videos. Again, it's important you offer live videos. Number four, again, review social media analytics. And number five, seize every opportunity to get the campaign out there. Here's a guide on when you should post. The best time for Twitter is 1 to 3 p.m. The best day is Wednesday. On Facebook, the best day is Sunday and Saturday, and then Tuesday, Friday. Best time 6 to 8 a.m., 2 to 5 p.m. Worst time is 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Okay? And then, of course, we have to explore other social media platforms like Reddit. Reddit is a reincarnation of the forums of yore. Here, people are sort of anonymous and they share stuff, and you can see more and more people, more Gen Z using Reddit than before. And in Reddit, you could see it's highly moderated. It's not like Facebook or Twitter where trolls could easily come in. It's highly moderated. So, for example, a subreddit about a specific show or series, and then uh, someone would post details about an upcoming episode or spoilers, that it would get automatically uh, i- put behind. It would be blocked, and you have the option to click it to read it. So Reddit is some sort of a forum where people discuss issues, people discuss things, anything and everything under the sun in a more in-depth, in a more moderated manner. So you can also explore this. Reddit has been popular in the Philippines since 2018, I think, but it became more popular with students, especially with flexible learning right now. Forums like Reddit became more popular, and also in other countries as well. And then this one, TikTok. TikTok is a video first platform, and some call it the next generation of advocacy. What does this new frontier mean for political campaigns and social causes? It means TikTok advocacy has emerged as the latest piece of an informed campaign with sound digital and social strategy, which can optimize their message. So you can think of possible ways, for example, dance steps to the tune of a relevant song to convey the message of hope or convey the message of condemnation about a certain issue. And then you enable people to copy this dance move and make it a TikTok trend to get your message across, especially to the younger generation. Other emerging trends. There's this Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces, I don't know in other countries if Twitter Spaces has launched. Can anyone uh
Confirm. Can anyone confirm if do you have Twitter Spaces? Do you notice other organizations using Twitter Spaces in your places? I don't see any raised hand
not
as of now. Yeah.
not yet, but anyway, Twitter Spaces is like some sort of breakout room here in Zoom, something like that, where you can discuss with other people using the platform Twitter as a platform. So it's like some sort of talk show, but it's more open. So you can, if a lot of newsmakers in the Philippines right now and trendsetters are using Twitter Spaces, but it's not yet as popular as other features. More popular is Twitter Fleets. Fleets is basically just the version of uh Twitter's version of Facebook Stories, so you should also use that. Another up and coming trend is this Clubhouse app. Clubhouse is basically uh, like Facebook Live or Twitter Spaces, but only with audio. So you talk with other people with audio only. And then it's so easy right now to automate creating, because one of the effect of the trend of people becoming more private in their engagement in social media is they returned to reading their emails. There was an uptick in the trend of people using their emails. So it's recommended for organizations to create weekly newsletters again and curate certain mailing lists. And you can create for free in MailChimp. MailChimp is an app, not really an app, a website where you can automate a newsletter for sending to your curated subscribers list. It's something uh to reach the other end of the spectrum. The uh other end of the spectrum is the overusers of uh Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media apps. And the lower end, on the other hand, are people who took a step back and reverted back to email. So you want to also reach those people. So use MailChimp to automate the release of newsletters and the creation and release of newsletters. It's an emerging trend. It's easy to use. I use it almost weekly to send to contacts, curated contacts, and uh, many people, more people read articles, for example, or view YouTube videos via clicking the Mailchimp newsletter. Okay, questions?
Anyone would like to ask any questions, share some insights?
Okay,
Okay.
from Yas.
Yes.
Hi, can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
So with regards to the scope of WGNRR being our main targets would be people from the global south, and um, given that there are a lot of women in the rural areas or in peasant demographics, is social media a suitable avenue to campaign for their health, or should we focus on other mediums,
Uh,
given that they have more limited access to social media and other technologies?
we have to look at it. Uh, we can still campaign for their issues via social media, but when we talk about directly informing them, we have to use readily available avenues for them. Uh, I talked about this with the Dumagats recently, and about their issue. There's this issue of them getting driven away from their communities because there's a dam being built, the Kaliwa Dam in Quezon, Rizal. So uh, I said, "Do you want to learn how to use social media?" They said, "No, teach us how to make pamphlets and manifestos that we can distribute to our people, because they don't even have electricity. Some of them don't even have electricity. So uh, we can use social media to increase awareness about their plight to more people outside of their community. But when we go down to their community and serve them, we have to use uh, avenues or materials or platforms that they could readily use, such as pamphlets or leaflets, etc. So it goes hand in hand. You raise awareness about their issue to the general public, but at the same time, you equip them using other forms in their communities.
I
Did I
think
get?
one good thing also to consider is that our social media plan, tactics and strategies are just part of our whole organizational communications and advocacy plan. When we create our entire organizational communications and advocacy plan, we also identify our audiences and the channels that best suit this audience. And at the same time, for each audience or stakeholder, we also identify what are we asking them. So when we identify that, and we also see, okay, who are we able to reach in social media? So the people that we reach in social media are those who can provide support to the marginalized communities that we want to help or uplift or raise voices. As Marja was saying, when we engage or with the people in the marginalized community, so those who don't have access, then we most likely have to use more traditional media. So for them, but when we want to reach those who can probably amplify their voices, who can amplify their stories or reach decision makers, then that's when social media comes in as a channel and as a tool.
Yeah. So it's not a social media is a not a one size fits all solution to campaigning. So yeah, you have to discern. That's another keyword we have to use, discernment, when it comes to advocacy. Okay. For the
Thank you so
next,
much. Thank you.
thank you. For our next slide, this is just a brief discussion because we talk about the risks entailing social media campaigning. One of the risks here is your privacy and your personal security. So you have to ensure you follow these 6 steps. You have to ensure that your privacy and your digital security is intact when you campaign in social media. Number one, do not use and move away from unsupported software. Do not use something like apps that are not in Google Play Store or are not in uh, the in the App Store in Apple. Because why are they not there? Because they may have not have been approved due to certain limitations or certain laxity in their digital security. So move away from some people use versions of certain apps that are not approved, or certain software they install it on their in their computer. For example, a pirated software of a certain editing materials. Uh, they might they might prove to be cost efficient, but it dangers your digital safety. So unsupported. And then always update your apps and your software. because most of the software updates, especially on your smartphone, are security updates. So when you delay them, you elongate the time that you might get riskier. You might suffer from risk from that these digital updates address. And then, of course, number three, run up-to-date antivirus software. Uh, as much as possible, there are free software that are, I think, very useful. You can search for them, or if you have the enough funds for it, you can ramp up your digital security and have your own licensed antivirus software. And number four, use strong passwords. Do not use 1234 or password plus your date of birth or your ATM password, the four pin or the six pin of your ATM as password. Use something stronger because people can really hack, and it's dangerous for advocates to get hacked because their pages could also get hacked when their personal accounts are hacked. Number five, delete suspicious emails and avoid clicking unknown attachments or links. You might get phishing attacks. Your emails might get hacked. When your email gets hacked, your social media accounts might also get hacked. Number six, back up your data. Have a separate USB, a physical copy of stuff, because when the going gets tough or when all things fail, you have a backup copy of certain important files and documents and uh, even social media assets that you need for backup. So if all things fail, there's the backup. This is a bit of on digital security. Now, the last part, of course, is we create a social media plan. I've provided the organizers with a document that you can fill up as part of the workshop here. But before we prepare the social media plan, and here are some things to consider. Number one, analyze your current assets. We've done this before. I've asked you to look at the current assets that you have, so you now know how many likes you have, how many followers you have. Number two, identify goals. What goals do you want to accomplish with preparing your social media plan? For example, you want to double your likes, your followers, or you want to triple it uh, by July 2021. We have this much, as concrete as possible, because when you assess and you look back on these goals, if they are concrete, it would also your assessment would also be concrete. And then research, number three, research competition, not necessarily competition, but like-minded or uh, pages which are very much which functions very much like your page. It's not, you're not researching competition because you want to beat them, but you want to see what are they doing to increase their followers, to increase their likes, strategies are they employing, what are the good practices, bad practices they are doing. And of course, lastly, when you research competition, you can also connect with them and build possible alliances with certain organizational pages that are attuned to certain issues like women's health. If they are campaigning for the same campaigns that you are advocating for, why not reach out to them and have joint social media campaigns, di ba? And then you create your content strategy. In the form I've given the organizers, there's a checklist there to remind you what to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. So print that checklist, and you have to remind yourself every now and then that you have to do these things. And there, yeah. So that's the social media calendar. And then 6, assign roles. Who are the social media managers who would post on this day, etc. So this is just a quick I've done just a quick thing to help you for May 28th. So for May 28th, have it all prepared at least a day before. You should have one, teasers. You should have teasers for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. What's gonna happen on May 28th? And then number 2, uh, there's a yeah. Number 2, start the conversation early on Twitter. So once you post the teasers, you also start the conversation early on Twitter. Like, this is gonna happen on Friday. We could start talking about this, etc. And then post engaging stories on Facebook stories and Twitter fleets. So, for example, if you have stock images or stock photos of people who have fell victim to certain issues that you are campaigning for, and you ask their permission, can we post this? Can we use your story, etc. Of course, consent is number one. You cannot just post pictures of people, especially victims, without their consent. Okay, so post these engaging stories to help galvanize and put a face on your campaign. And then you can start a TikTok trend for SRHR. What TikTok trend do you have in mind? You can have something to do with the face mask, or something to do with face shields, or something to do with alcohol or vaccination, something related to the pandemic, and then you relate it to women's health. And then of course, plan live videos for May 28th. And then just a few more slides. I prepared 7 points for maximizing social media presence on May 28th. These are just some suggestions. You might not want to do it, but I just present it anyway. Smart planning. What's smart planning? It's planning with a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound plan. So you cannot do a general plan about a social media campaign, because uh, it won't be that concrete. We need concrete solutions when we do plans. We have to identify problems, establish baselines, and audience overview, because when we cannot provide these concrete actions through smart planning, we cannot we would be it would be difficult for us to assess our output. Okay, number 2, maximize the use of products or materials. For example, like what I've said before, if you're gonna produce a statement for that day, you can produce quote cards, and then you can produce a quote of the day from the day's press release or statement. You can have good morning, good evening, or good night quote cards for May 28th, something related to the International Day of Action. You can post statistics and infographics using GIFs. You know what GIFs are, right? They are imaging, moving images. So, and then you can also create roundup posts. What are roundup posts? For example, in region Asia Pacific region, these are what happened during the day. Some The Philippines launched this campaign, and then this nation launched this campaign. So you have a map of what happened during the day, so you could provide your audience an overview of what happened during your International Day of Action. And then, of course, this is also important. Again, I've already mentioned this before. The outtakes, it makes the posts more human. whether it's office photos or snapshots of your team doing action during May 28th, it makes your page more personal and engages your followers more, and it can help form a much needed connection. And then number three, start developing a voice. What do we call your followers? What words would we often use during the day? And as well as who would be our talking heads and what would be the languages that they will use. And then number four, the social media calendar. You should coordinate with other global activities, because if you can cross post, for example, a live event happening in one country that's also relevant in your country, why not? So you won't double the effort. Then you have hourly schedules, live videos, and you can even host a concert, online concert. You can get advocates. I was hearing good songs produced by WGNRR. You can have them perform live, or you can tape them and then play it live on Facebook on May 28th. It's an online jam. It's an online jam for women's health. It's a good concept because more and more people want to listen to music, uh, especially music with advocacies. So you could also do that on May 28th. The number five, before May 28th, you have to have a meeting with your social media team and identify a pool of supporters and influencers who you can tap to to send out these certain messages that you want, and then you tag the organization, and you tie up with other organizations and influencers to have maximum reach for your messages. Number six, you can also host live Facebook videos where you have games. When we say games, we can have uh, guess the word, or it can be a trivia game, and the prizes could be something like personalized, uh, something a token, for a token of appreciation, etc. You could go wild with this, but all throughout the day you can have games and interactive posts. You can also post memes and online comics. You can post comics about women's health. And of course, number seven, uh, if you're familiar with engine optimization, also this social media optimization. These are relevant keywords or words that are often used by people, so that when you there's already a search function inside Facebook and Twitter, and when they search for certain words, your posts will appear if they are optimized. So adding relevant keywords in your profile and posts make you appear in searches like that more often. And then you can share related content outside of your network, including keywords and hashtags. For example, a relevant UN organization said this, and you want to share it in your post. It's outside your network, but you want to share it, so you can share it also. And then you can connect with popular accounts in your industry for additional exposure. Don't be afraid to follow others. And of course, you can cross-post each other even within the network. Now we go to I've seen Danica send the
Yeah.
uh the form. So
Yeah,
for
Marjo,
me,
I think one thing is it was really a very like jam-packed, very informative 2 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes already. I felt
sorry.
that going beyond for another workshop might be too much at this point. So I would really love for us to workshop, but I would actually just ask you to maybe just sort of let's just go over, like gloss over that template, just to sort of introduce to them the template, we might not have to like workshop and answer that now because of the time. And it was really, like I said, a lot of information already in 2 hours. I do hope everyone is still enjoying. I see comments, I see personal direct messages to me about saying that it was really a very informative session. Thanks so much, Marjo, for everything that you've shared. Please do send us some feedbacks in the chat section so we know how you feel about the session we had tonight. But yeah, let's just go over, Marjo, with let's sort of gloss over the template.
Okay, just go over it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we might have to go like deep into the template anymore.
Anyway, the template is just a checklist
Mm.
of what you need to prepare for a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually social media plan. It doesn't involve anything that's difficult to do. One-liners would do, topics would do. But what's more important there is if you can choose between these 4 topics presented here to brainstorm, and then you can send me just 3 to 5 sentences, I think, for just one topic. It's either a Facebook Live talk show, a Twitter Spaces event, a Facebook Instagram Stories and Twitter Fleets campaign, or a TikTok advocacy trend. So, and then this can be done by organization, one output, just 3 to 5 sentences, just a brief brainstorm of an idea of what you can do that goes beyond May 28th, something that you can do year round. I think you can send this to the organizers and then I can comment on it after. So
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
that's about it. That's social media for social good. Toolkit for advocates. I'm glad that you invited me in this event. I hope you learned a lot and thank you for the invitation.
Yay! Thank you so much. Anyone would like to send our to share some insight, just to give, Marjo gave us all his power this tonight. Maybe we can send back to him any feedback that you want to share to Marjo, other than our heart reacts, of course. Keep on coming, the heart reacts. Pushpa from Yoshan, thank you so much. It was very informative. Anyone else?
I hope you can use it.
And I really love I'm really very thankful for your offer that you could still provide some comments to the organizational
Hello.
plan. That's really very important. Yes, I hear. Is that?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Collins from Kulit.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I love the session. It was much of educative in terms of social media and marketing, as well as we know very well that we need to emphasize the community about what is actually affecting them, especially the young girls. As it's also alternate in the social media that we need to again to work on the aspects that you have been taught, or rather been told by our facilitator. So what I will urge is that let us keep on pushing this. We understand that not everybody that is familiar with the online or social media platforms. We have got the remote areas, the people who are marginalized. We also need to go ahead and spread the gospel of our projects in the remote areas, so that when we come back to the social media, we'll be balancing. Not only that we balance ourselves in social media, and we are leaving people who are the remote areas, the marginalized people, or the marginalized communities are not well informed of either of our projects. You see, so we need also to balance, as well as we balance on social media, is as well as we want to balance in the marginalized areas, those people who are based on traditions, because we see like we have got instances whereby you see like young girls, for example, they get offended, then all of a sudden they commit suicide. Like we have an incident in Ghana whereby a girl committed suicide in school. You see, then we go ahead in social media, we find people posting others. You see, they make memes, they make jokes about it. So you see this thing. It also affects other people who use social media. We got another instance where another incident in South Africa where a girl was actually was bullied by a fellow student. You see, and she went up committing suicide. You see, so social media again, it can be positive to us, but again, it can also be negative to us, depending with the approach that we want us to take it. You see, so we must also educate people on how they're going to use social media in terms of community engagement projects. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Collins. Like Collins mentioned, for any other, i.e., information communication technology, that's what communication is. It will always be double-edged sword. It will always be something that will be useful for us, but also would always be a channel, a platform where violence could also happen or be used for violence. And what Collins has been telling us to sort of remind us as well, although we did not talk about content per se in our workshop now, but we always have to remind ourselves that we can only be effectively posting if we have the content, and that is if we are actually engaging in our communities, if we actually have the real stories of the communities that we can present. If not, we will just be sort of posting things that are not really anchored in the realities of our communities, and that would be the worst thing that we could do in our advocacies, is that we put out message great, colorful, creative messages, but are hollowed in essence. So that's we always have to remind ourselves. I would just like to read some messages here. Thank you, incredible facilitator, for giving us so much information in a limited time. We are representing DYISA from Bhutan, for very useful about using social media as tools to advocate. Thank you so much for the feedback. Thanks a lot. Please, can we get this presentation? Yes, materials and templates will be sent. And also, as I've mentioned, let me just quickly share. This is the template that Marjo's prepared and shared for us. It looks like this. The social media plan checklist is not something that you have to like set in stone that you have to follow, but just some materials or points that Marjo prepared in terms of what you can sort of do for our campaigning there. So it's just sort of a checklist that you can use. And then this is the part where he said you could send back to us. Like these are topic or issues or focus or platforms that you could sort of explore and maybe give back to us some plans that Marjo could still comment on and help you improve. This will also be part of what Danica would be talking to you a little bit later about the support for the organizations for the May 28th campaigning. Umi also said, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. Just before we let you go, Marjo, can you give us last thoughts, message, and a little bit more push, just so for May 28, we're all pumped up to do our campaigning in social media and beyond.
I guess for us to jumpstart our campaign in social media, just have to really start doing it, because we can learn from our mistakes. But the best thing to really do is to try exploring. If you're afraid of using Facebook stories, why not do it for the first time, and then you might like it and it might be effective. Or Twitter, you might be effective in Twitter. The very very important thing here is to get your message across, and without you doing it, nobody's gonna do it, because we're the advocates of this issue. So support to everyone, and good luck for May 28th. I myself are inviting in my group in Child Rights Network to get involved in May 28th, especially where I'm an advocate of children's rights, so this issue is very close to me too.
Thank you so much. And now I give you to Danica for some announcements.
Hello, everyone. So I hope that you learned a lot from our workshop session for today. So just before we end our session, as promised, before we invited you, youth organizations who will attend this 2 day session will be given campaign support to do their activities in their communities, whether it will be online or not. So I'm just gonna present the guidelines for the campaign support. Okay, so here, of course, those who attended the Learning How 2 day session will be the one to receive the campaign support and who are also planning to conduct a campaign activity with young people in line with the May 28th International Day of Action for Women's Health 2021 call for action. And please always use, as we also mentioned yesterday, to use the hashtags and inequality pandemic, hashtag women's health matters, hashtag SRHR is essential, but also taking note of what Sir Marjo mentioned earlier that in some social media pages, there's a character limit. So just, use the hashtags and maybe add on the comment section or in another tweet if there's a limit in your uh, if your post will limit the actual message. And also we've discussed yesterday about the recommended May 28 campaign activities. You can refer to the call for action in page 13. So if you're the as I just want to also emphasize that the campaign activity can be an online activity or a face-to-face uh, event, and this can also be conducted beyond May 28. Uh, but of course, making sure that conducting a face-to-face activity is we still follow the minimum standard uh, health protocol to uh, practice physical distancing, using face masks, and using alcohol. And actually, we will also recommend that if you're doing a face-to-face campaign activity, you can use the campaign support to also provide yourself some protection, because yeah, we can't really campaign if we're not gonna take care of ourselves and our target audience. And another guideline is to receive the campaign support, we will ask a representative. Maybe within your organization, you have to assign someone to become a representative and to send a scanned copy of government identification. Uh, and that includes the following details: of course, name of representative, complete address, mobile number, including country code. So, because we will not be doing bank transfers, we will be using Western Union. I hope everyone's familiar with that money transfer to uh, to fasten the process of transferring the campaign support. And then for those who will be doing online activities, we've provided you with the online social media plan template. You can refer to that to in order to submit a social media plan by May 27. That's 5 p.m. in Philippine time. Yeah, I'll just give you the time converter so you can check uh, for the deadline. But yeah, this will be an important document also to know what your social media plan is, so that in our part in WGNRR we can also share whatever we can share through action alerts or in our social media pages as well, what you're doing in your community or in your country. And then lastly, by June 30, we will ask you to submit a report on the activity we will not be very strict in terms of the format. So as much as possible, we want you to highlight in this report or treat it as a sort of an article that you're doing highlighting how young people participated in the May 28th campaign activity that you did. And also one thing that we would ask for those who will be conducting an online activity is to include details of internet cost support provision to young people's participation. So that can be, yes, part of the report as well for online campaign activities. So if you have questions, clarifications, I think we still have a few more minutes before we end. But if not, you can always contact me through email. I will also send this guideline so you can refer back to this document again. But if you
I
have
think
questions,
it's better to just do the coordination through emails because there might be some particular conditions in terms of sending, in terms of activity per organization or per country. So let's just skip the coordination with about this on email. Danica.
yeah. That's all for.
And with that, any other last words, messages, questions, anyone? Sorry, I'm kind of rushing things. It's already almost 9 p.m. in the Philippines, and I want the participants who are in the Philippines to also be able to take a rest already because it's kind of late already here. Any questions? We'd really love having you 2 days, everyone. The fun conversation, the great feedbacks that you're giving is also giving us a lot of energy for the May 28th. So we hope everyone enjoys campaigning for May 28th and even beyond. Like I know you will still do some activities after May 28th. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, I think that will lead us to the most anticipated part of having our group picture. For anyone who is comfortable, of course, of sharing your videos, we'd love to see your lovely faces for our picture taking. Thanks, Nima. We're so ready. All right, who's taking the picture anyway?
I'll take the photo.
All right. There will be 2 pages, so just keep the smile.
Okay. First page, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second pages, second page, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are still people who are showing their video. 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much.
Marjo and I are the best po.
Thank you, Marjo.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Anyone who still wants to stay and chat with anyone, go ahead. But anyone who wants to take a rest already, it's okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi, Daryl.
Hi.
Isik naman dyan, ng lungkot eh. Thank you, Marjo. Salamat. Sana nag-enjoy ka din. Dire-diretso ka 2 hours. Bye, colleagues.
Bye.
Hello.
Alis na ako. Bye.
Bye.
Music.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
May nag-release siguro. Hi, Nina!
Nasa waiting room ka.
May gusto bumalik.
Nag-enjoy ako dun sa picture. Nawala na yung isip ko. Magpatagtag yung sex.
Loving the music. Practice for our TikTok now.